go through. Obviously, Rex went into administration last week. We believe they have government help of some form or another to keep their Saab flights, their regional flights going. Their 737 flights have now ended. Jake, start at the beginning. What's the update? What do we know now that we didn't know last week?
So yes, the Rex 737 flights are definitely over. The administrators have basically indicated that they're stopping those. And I think, as we touched on last week, Qantas, Jetstar, and Virgin all rebooking customers, Rex customers, on overlapping flights at no charge.
Have you got yours, by the way?
I have. I'll be flying with Virgin. I'll be flying with Virgin down to Melbourne and back from Melbourne. I thought I was going to be flying with Rex down to Melbourne and Virgin back from Melbourne, but because I'd been looking at Virgin down to Melbourne as well, but I was like, you know what? Rex looks like it'll be cheaper and I want to give Rex a go. But now I'm flying Virgin down to Melbourne anyway. So
it's very nice of them to give you a ticket.
It is. It is very nice. We have had, as you say, Adam, a whole lot of stories about Rex. A whole bunch of things have been coming out of the woodwork. There's the administrators for Rex are in the moment are in court to try and hold off this board spill by former executive chairman Lim Kim Hai, who, as we recall, before the airline went into voluntary administration, was looking to be trying to mount a coup to overthrow the current board and possibly get his old job back. The administrators are asking the court if that could sort of please be delayed because it wouldn't make sense to do it while in administration. There's been the Australian Financial Review has uncovered what it says of this trove of documents and emails from inside Rex with what appears to be if these emails and documents are correct, kind of an ongoing feud between sort of Sharp and Lim. So clearly all was if these are substantiated, all was not well within Rex for quite a while leading up to its collapse. We have had Michael McCormack weighing in, the former transport minister, who I think was sort of responsible, Adam, for helping Rex out during the pandemic.
So just to take you back to 2020, and this was actually about a month or two after I started at Australian Aviation, thrown in the deep end. When sort of COVID started to really take off, when we started to see lockdowns and people stopped from leaving their homes, Rex and a number of other smaller airlines basically did this kind of plea to the government, which was basically like, unless you bail us out or help us, we're going to have to shut down. We are finished. And it was Michael McCormack who, when he was Deputy Prime Minister and also Transport Minister for the Lib coalition, he basically organised a series of kind of, I say bailouts, they were kind of supplemented flights. There were supplemented flights from the federal government. There were also sort of supplemented flights or help from state governments as well. But Michael McCormack was sort of accused of being the minister for Rex because he was the man who kind of put his neck out to help save them. They eventually, as a bit of trivia, later on named an aircraft after Michael McCormack, VHMFM. Bit of trivia. Sorry, Karen, Jake.
Yeah, so as you say, Michael McCormack has weighed in. The United Services Union was urging to pay the government to pay staff entitlements to laid off Rex employees. We also had an extraordinary intervention, which I'll get to in a moment, from Rod Sims. But a quick note: the Australian reported as well last week. That Sam Freeman, partner at EY Australia, who's the administrator, saying that EY is looking to sell the airline within about 5 weeks, so 25 working days as of the start of the month. So it could be, there has been some interest apparently, people kicking the tires and that sort of thing. We'll see how that turns out. But getting back to Rod Sims, last week on ABC Radio National, Rod Sims basically said the collapse of Rex was due to a public policy failure. especially around the slot management at Sydney Airport, and we're getting back to our well-worn old topic of slots at Sydney Airport. He was saying that Rex had been kind of banging down his door, trying to get these slots, but pointed the finger at Airport Coordination Australia, which is the company that runs the slot management at Sydney Airport, sort of under contract with the federal government. Now that is sort of owned. Its shareholders, it's Qantas and board representation. You got Qantas, you got Virgin, you got the Regional Aviation Association, you got Sydney Airport itself, sort of among its shareholders. And Rod Sims was basically saying, well, Rex and Bonza are having to go cap in hand to a company that's controlled by Qantas and Virgin to beg them for slots. To paraphrase what he was essentially saying, and actually coming back to us. Was the CEO of ACA, who was basically saying, that's a load of nonsense. She was very keen to set the record straight there. She was saying that Qantas and Virgin have no input into the decisions of ACA. She was saying that that their slot process is entirely, fair. She said, quote, slots are not the issue at Sydney. Rod Sims has never communicated with ACA or asked any questions of us regarding the allocation of slots at Sydney or anything else. She said in its 26-year history, ACA has never had any complaints against it. One thing she also said was that Bonza never requested a slot in Sydney, and that Rex received many slots in the peak periods and handed some peak slots back because they had too many to use, which might go to, having such a small fleet, perhaps.
So just to sort of, there's a few things I think to discuss here. So firstly, Rod Sims was the previous chair of the ACCC.
Previous chair of the ACCC.
Now, one of the interesting things is obviously if you're working for the ACCC and you are the current chair, it does become difficult, I would argue, for you to say things like this. Obviously, you are kind of currently in position, and it's a bit difficult. So for the previous chair is arguably our sort of the one person that could speak out. The fact that this person has gone and done this, it's no benefit to him. Obviously, something he feels quite passionate about. So his views are not to be discounted. The other thing as well, without wanting to say that it's incorrect, what we've heard that statement in response, is that Sydney Airport themselves has said time and time again that they do not agree with the slot system. They do not agree with the allocation. And this is essentially out of their control. They have talked quite loudly about how they believe for competition, smaller airlines or new entrants should be prioritised. We've also had Bonza and Rex shout very, very, very loudly saying that the inability to get slots is one of the problem. Now, obviously, there's two sides of the story here, but they might turn around and say, well, technically Bonza never requested a slot. That doesn't mean that they weren't sort of talking about it or that they weren't keen. Secondly, they might say Rex have given them back. Well, if there was no issue whatsoever, we wouldn't have heard complaints from Bonza and Rex. So different sides of the story there.
Yeah. Now, the government is putting the slot management out to tender. Which Petra Popovich, I apologize if I've mispronounced that, has said that she welcomes. She says, we are, quote, we are exceptional at our job and are recognized globally by positions that we hold within industry advisory groups such as the World Airport Slots Board, where I am chair. This was coming from.
I love the fact
directly.
There's a World Airport Slots Board.
Well,
Can you imagine?
I guess someone has to control World Airport Slots, doesn't it? But she's basically said, we are independent, we are neutral, we are not, puppets to Qantas or Virgin. We do things in a fair, transparent, and by the book manner is essentially what they've been saying. Now, this open tender process, I think part of these reforms that the government did announce back in February, they weren't ditching this 80-20 rule, which allows an airline to keep a slot indefinitely as long as they fly at 80% of the time. They're not ditching that, but they are sort of looking to give smaller carriers more of a go at the airport. They're sort of extending, I think, they're modifying at least what's considered the peak period at the airport. They're trying to push for more transparency in slot allocation. So there are, and this is sort of in line with what the Harris review suggested. So there will be reforms coming to slots at Sydney Airport, and this tender process is part of it.
But I mean, I would say to that, and this is not a dig at Catherine King and the current government, who I think have shown more interest than the previous administration. But you could listen to that and say, bit late now, isn't it? Because it's all very well going, I'm going to help new entrants. There are none. They've gone. The 2 new entrants have gone, and I struggle to see another new entrant coming in, for a generation now.
Well, the opposition, Bridget McKenzie has kind of been, going on about, how this is, the government's failure and the government should, do this and that and do these reforms. And Catherine King has, one might say, some might say reasonably said, well, why didn't you do anything about it? You were in power for what?
9 years.
Yeah. Why didn't you do anything to fix it? So it's obviously there's all the political argy-bargy that happens around this sort of thing. I think it's definitely something to watch. By the way, something that good news for Rex Flyer loyalty members, both of us.
Excellent news.
Yeah, excellent news.
See, I got one out there. Yeah.
Well done. Very exciting. Rex Flyer loyalty members are able to still earn points during the voluntary administration. This has come out in an email to members seen by Australian Aviation, primarily because I am a Rex Flyer member and I got the email because I liked the idea of getting 5,000 bonus points. Anyway, so this email came through to Rex Flyer members saying basically you can still earn points while we're in administration, or your tier benefits will still apply. You just can't redeem them until unless there's like a restructure that sort of preserves the Rex Flyer points. So obviously you would be only using the points now on the regional flights because they're ditching the 737s. But like I said, good news for both of the Rex Flyer members. Your points are safe.
It's almost like you can still use Dad's debit card while he's in a coma. Don't let the spending stop. I know
it's not your spending, it's your earning.
You're earning
points.
You're earning points.
I mean, I think Rex, launching a loyalty program like Rex Flyer, if Rex wanted to compete on the national stage, it's probably what they were probably needing to do. The trouble is Rex Flyer has never had the tie-ups that Velocity is tied up with Flybys, which is Coles, which is and Qantas is tied up with Everyday Rewards, which is Woolworths, and so the 2 biggest supermarkets in the country and the 2 biggest airlines in the country are tied up. Yeah. Who is Rex Flyer going to partner with?
Harris Farms.
Maybe. Who shops at Harris Farm?
Well, you never know. The gilded seat of the editor.
Aldi doesn't do loyalty programs. You can't go with Aldi. One of the reasons that the Qantas Frequent Flyer and Velocity Frequent Flyer have done so well is that they have all of these partnerships.
They've secured the slots in the supermarkets.
You could say, yeah. They have all these partnerships, and you can turn your Flybys points into Velocity points. You can turn your Everyday Rewards points into Qantas Frequent Flyer points. How could you earn Rex Flyer points aside from flying with Rex?
This is the issue. Right, let's get
it also goes, and I think it's been brought up, a valid point. I don't remember who brought it up, but marketing was a big issue for Rex's 737s because Rex was kind of relying pretty heavily on word of mouth, relying on people who've flown with them to say, wow, this is a pretty good service, which by all accounts it was, which was one of the reasons I was so, looking forward to flying with them to try out their service. But they didn't they launched a big marketing campaign like a week before they went into administration, and there'd been very, very little visible marketing for Rex of its 737s beforehand. They were relying on people who knew Rex and liked Rex, or people who had tried Rex and told their friends. I mean, word of mouth is fantastic, but you need to spread the word in other ways as well. You can't just rely almost entirely on word of mouth.